Okay, thank you all for coming today. My name is Ian Hargraves. I'm with CAD Dimensions as the Solidworks Core Product Manager here, mainly focusing on the design and engineering roles and applications. So Solidworks, inspection, visualization, all that kind of stuff. But now the newer products we're going to be focused on, and especially today, is going to be the 3DExperience platform. So there's a lot of different applications that we can use. I'll be focusing on two today. The ones that we will be focusing on. So we'll be doing the parametric modeling using the xDesign app. Then we'll go into creating a 2D drawing using xDefine. And then lastly, we're going to just go over what the SolidWorks Cloud offer is, kind of go what's in that offer going on right now. So just to give you some background before we actually jump into the application. So with the xDesign, this is an application that would be coming with the 3D Creator role. So you could think of it as a role on the platform as your serial number or a bundle of apps that you would be assigned to. So they don't use serial numbers, they just use assignment roles on the platform. So when I say 3D Creator, that refers to the role that would come with the xDesign app. So we're with the 3D Creator role, we're able to create 3D models and assemblies within whatever browser you'd like. Today I'm going to be using Chrome, however you could use Firefox, Safari. I've even seen it done in a Oculus Quest browser. So as long as you have a browser that's connected to the internet, you can access and design using these applications. So the xDesign app was actually kind of based off the SolidWorks kind of methodology of modeling. So the modeling is going to feel a lot like SolidWorks. A lot of the tools have the same name, even the same function. They pretty much all work the same, and we'll go over that more once we start doing it live. But if you know SolidWorks, you can jump into xDesign almost immediately. Okay, so we've got the other thing about it is that since we're not installing on or not using any kind of installation, you can run this on a Mac or PC. There is no installation needed. These all apps will all run on the browser, so a lot less IT overhead, all that kind of stuff. So that makes it a lot easier to work with. Okay. Just to cover the manufacturing definition creator. So that is the role that you would have to get in order to get the xDefine. So that's going to be your 2D drawing and MVD creator. We'll be covering that today. So we can create 2D drawings and 3D annotations within the browser. So same thing, you can use whatever browser you prefer. As long as you have an internet connection, you can work with it. Kind of like xDesign, the dimensioning is very similar to how you would do it in SolidWorks. So you start with a sketch. You could just select edges, points, faces to get the dimensions that you're looking for. So really easy. If you're familiar with dimensioning in SolidWorks, you can pick this up almost immediately. And like I said, with the xDesign, there is no installation, so it does allow you to run on a Mac, or if you had Linux or anything like that, you can run this. So, all right, so that's a kind of quick overview. So right now what we're going to do is we're actually going to jump into the actual application, and we're going to run through kind of how the modeling works in this. So you'll get a live look at how you can model in xDesign. So this is the xDesign application. It runs right in a browser. I am in a Chrome browser at the moment, but like I said before, you can use whatever browser you'd like. So this is the layout. I can full screen it if I want a little bit, but I usually just keep it in here for that. On the left-hand side, we have a couple options. We can make a new component. We could open up by existing one, we can import a file that's been on our local computer. So if you have a step file, a Solidworks file, STL, those can all be imported into xDesign as well. You also have some information down here for new people that are just getting started with xDesign. Kind of gives you a walkthrough on how to get used to modeling in the program. I also have my recent content just like SolidWorks. So to get started, all I have to do is hit new component. So this would be like hitting a new part in SolidWorks. I'll give it a name. So we'll do the May 10th webinar. And where I'm going to save it is just my local location on the cloud. I can save it to a production environment, but for now, I'm just going to keep it to my local one. And I just have to hit OK. So now this is the modeling space for xDesign. So on the left-hand side here, we have our design tree. Again, just like SolidWorks, you've got your planes, you've got your axes, and as I start modeling, you'll be able to see the features growing out there. On the right-hand side, we have a kind of a viewer. So as I rotate around, you can see that the chair rotates with it. And this is to show, the planes that I'm working on. So if I wanted to go to the bottom view, I could rotate there, click that, and see what the bottom view is. I can also do the clockwise and counterclockwise too. I'll keep that kind of the parametric. I also have some tools for viewing, so I can do normal, zoom, fit, all that kind of stuff. You can pin it, but I usually just leave it off. Underneath that, we do have our units. I'll be working in millimeters, but you can switch on the fly. So if you work with millimeters and you need to switch to inches, you can always just switch that there. Lastly, probably the biggest difference is going to be that instead of having the ribbon in SolidWorks, your ribbon actually is kind of on the bottom. You can move it around, but I usually keep it on the bottom. So I have kind of a standard one, which is your open, close, save, refresh, all that kind of stuff. But then you have your sketches, your features, your surfaces, and then your assembly. So while we're working in the X apps, it's good to know that there is no difference between file types between assemblies and parts. They're both called physical products. So if I'm working in a design, I want a new assembly, I can just start one just by inserting one or making a new one. So you can just kind of switch between parts and assemblies very easily within the X apps. I also do have some design guidance. So with the X apps, you kind of do get some smart tools that come with it. As you start modeling and sketching, it will start kind of learning your behavior and making suggestions for you. The one that I see a lot is if you have, like, say, a hole and there's 4 corners, it's automatically going to say, hey, do you want to do those 4 corners? So stuff like that makes your design go a little bit quicker. Then you got your standard tools, your materials, your color, measure, all that stuff. With all the X apps, you do get some data management built into it. So you can check in, check out your files, you can revise them, you can do branches, release them, obsolete them. All that kind of information is just going to be built right into these X apps. Lastly, you can send these files to 3DExperience Maker for 3D printing. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start sketching out a model. So just like SolidWorks, I'll go ahead and choose this plane here, and I'll start a new sketch. It automatically normals too. You can turn that off if you'd like, but it's got this grid pattern, and I'm going to start by using a circle. You can notice too that they do have hotkeys. So like for circle, I can hit C to do that. It's all kind of preference. And as I start drawing out, I can get the dimension there. So for this one, I'll do a 50. And you'll notice too that just like SolidWorks, when I'm sketching, the lines are blue. But as soon as I get them fully defined, they turn black, just like SolidWorks. So if you're used to SolidWorks, you can do xDesign. I'm just going to start sketching out the top here. You can see that there are relations as well. So I got a V for vertical as I go up. I've got this dotted line here showing that. I could also go horizontal and get the horizontal line. So you can see that there are relations built in automatically, which is very nice. So I'll just sketch that out. Oops. Delete that one. Let me try that again. Got the tangency there. So go out and I'll bring it out. you can see here, there is this option to kind of give you some design assistance. So that's what I was talking about before with the kind of the UI or the artificial intelligence learning. So as I start going, it's going to make suggestions to how to make this sketch go a little bit faster. For now, I'll leave it off, but it'll come back in handy when I do the features. For Solidworks, I can also do the tangent curve. So hitting back on that line, I can make switch between lines and arcs. So very much similar functionality that we're all used to. I also have relations. So if I want to make this to vertical, I can just select those two and add them. Again, building it in. Nice thing is it does give me a dimension here, which I actually want to use. So if I just click on that, I can set that dimension right there. If I wanted to change the relation, so if I wanted this circle to go from the top to the middle, I can change that right here. So really nice functionality there. To dimension, I could click on the lines and just start dimensioning there. Right now, I have a fully defined sketch. I'll finish it off just by adding a tangent line here, a horizontal, and then a tangent as well. I'm going to make a midpoint line here, and you can see that as I bring in this midpoint over, I get a triangle. So that indicates that there's a midpoint relation there, which is nice as a nice representation there. I'll make it a vertical. I'll give this a 25 millimeter, and I'll make these tangent, just like we're used to. This one already is, and I'll make this one tangent as well. Last, I'm going to actually use the dimension tool here just to kind of show you a different way to do it. I can select the center arc there and the horizontal line there and dimension it just like that. So I've got a fully defined sketch. I'm going to use the trim tool here. So as I hover over it, you've got these yellow lines that I can just trim away. So I'll just check that one and that one. And now I've got a fully defined sketch that it's ready for extrusion. So I'll hit the green check. And now I'll just go into the features and do an extrude. So just like Solidworks, I just have to select a profile or a sketch. I'll do that. I can set the blind, but for this one, I'm going to do a millimeters or a midplane. Set that there. I do have the option to do thin surface, just like we're used to. But the nice thing about xDesign is I could switch these to different features just on the fly here. So I can always go back to a revolve or extrude just by using this drop down here. I do also have the conditions that I can change to, but for now, I'm just going to leave this as a simple mid-plane extrusion. Okay. Next, I'm going to do a circle sketch on the XY plane here, and I'll just hit sketch, automatically normals to. This time I'll use the hotkey for C for circle. Do a 45. And another thing that we have is we do have the mouse gestures. So I can switch between this, and if I wanted to switch to a dimension, I can just scroll up and get that. I have the same kind of functionality in when I exit the sketch. So I want an extrude again, so I'll just use the mouse gesture to pick that. I'll pick the profile again. And for this one, I'll do a 70 millimeters. So now that I have multiple features going, I could do an extrude cut here. I could do a separate multi-body if I wanted to. So I have options kind of as they come up. They will be turned color, so to indicate that they are available. But for now, I'll just leave this as is. And that did automatically merge those bodies together. So I'll do one more feature on the top here. And this time we're going to use the center. So I'm going to use this as, let's see, we're going to do this as a 24. And I'm going to set that to, oops, I exit out of it before. So I'll do 24. And let's, instead of doing a dimension here, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. What I could also do is just a reference here. So I could bring that over and let's choose this guy for a dimension. So I automatically made it as a relation. So again, you can pick relations or you can dimensions, just like we're all used to. I'll do an extrude here. It automatically pre-selected that for me. So this is going to be a 95, and I'll switch it out for the other direction. Yep, good here. And finally, I'll add one more extrusion before we get into this, the cuts. So for this one, I'm actually going to do a, actually, let's do this again. Another circle, and I'll do it on the midpoint here. So let's do 65. And since I already had that as a midpoint, it's fully defined. I'll go ahead and click the extrude. It'll automatically pre-select it. And I'll do a 35 midplane. Okay. So we're almost done with the extrusions. We're going to do one more, and this time we'll do on the right plane. And I'm going to just do one right on the origin here. We'll do 28, and I'll do 75 for the midplane. So all these features right now are one solid body. I could have unmerged them and make different solid multi-bodies. But as you can see, I've got a pretty good feature tree going here with multiple sketches and multiple features going. The nice thing is I have this little slider here, so I could always just scroll up and see kind of the history of it. So you don't have to use that horizontal line like we're used to. I just have this nice slider here that I can pull over. Okay. So now I'm going to actually sketch on this face. I don't need to do planes. I can sketch on faces. So I'll just do a sketch here. We'll do a circle. We'll do 35. And I'm just going to add a key slot here. So vertical and a horizontal and vertical line here. You can see I got quite a few different relation lines going here. I got a tangent. I've got one for the center plane, another tangency, vertical one. So as you start building, you're going to get a lot of options for references, which is really nice. I'm going to add a midpoint plane here again. So again, looking for that triangle. And then give a vertical relation here. I want that dimension there, so I'll just click on it and change it. And I'll just dimension this one as well. Go ahead and trim this out again. And now that I have this sketch selected, I can do a extrude cut. So instead of doing a add, I'll just hit cut. So that's how you would do an extrusion cut on xDesign. You would just have to select what's available. I'll do a through one way, so it cuts away all the material in this body. We'll do another cut up here. We'll just do a simple circle. So this will be 23. We'll do another cut here. Actually, I'll pre-select extrude cut using that drop down. Instead of a through all, I'm going to do an up to next. So again, we're used to those kind of settings there. And add that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hole tool in the xDesign. It's a little bit different from the hole wizard in SolidWorks. The only difference is we do have to predefine some references first. So I'll make a sketch and I'll just add a point here to use for the reference. And then I'll do the same for this one as well. So I'm just adding reference geometry for the hole tool to use as the placer. So I'll pre-select that sketch and go over to the hole tool. I'm going to just use anti-metric. I want to do a, let's do a straight. And we'll do drill size, and we'll set that for 12. I'm going to do a through all. The placement is already selected as that sketch, and that's why I pre-drew that. You can use reference geometry that is already there. So if I had this sketch on a different plane, I could use that. But I just find that it's easier to sketch the reference beforehand. Same thing, instead of pre-selecting, I'll just show you that process there. So right now I don't have any kind of placement. So I'll just go ahead and pre-select that. So it's all set. And I'll just use this marker there. It uses a point instead of the sketch. So you can use our existing geometry or vertexes or anything like that for placement as well. Okay. Lastly, we're just going to add another hole here. I'm going to do an offset for this one. So again, offset, I'm going to select the outer ring. I'll switch that over, and we're going to do a 12.5 offset. And lastly, we'll cut that through. Okay. And last, we'll just do a fillet for these edges here. I'm going to do a 3 millimeter. So as I start selecting, I'm going to use the AI assistance here. So when I select that, it's going to give me some suggestions. The ones that are in yellow are what they're thinking I should probably do. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Same thing with this. If I click that, those look good. I'm going to hit it. If I didn't want to, I could always deny it and not choose those ones and just manually select what I'm looking for. But it is a really nice tool to use to get these suggestions going. So saves you some clicks. You can see that it saved me those, clicking all those ones over there. Yep, so that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and hit the green check, and now I've got a finished part. So as I've been drawing this, it has been saving up to the cloud as a backup. But if I wanted to make sure it is saved, I can just hit that icon there, and this is going to save this model to the cloud as it is right now. I also have the option to export as a different file type, so I could do step, I could do IGIS, I could do an STL. There is a new format called 3DXML and SDXML. These work really well with Solidworks, so you can import these into Solidworks very easily. It uses the same translator. So, but now that we have a full model, what I want to do is actually create a 2D drawing for this. So to do that, I'm going to use the xDefine app. So all I have to do to do that is hit the X key. When I do that, it brings up all the other X apps that I can switch to. So the one I want is xDefine. So I'm just going to hit that. It's going to switch the application for me. The layout is going to look pretty much the same. You can see here right now I'm in xDesign, but it is switching over to xDefine. And just like that, I'm switched over. I do get a notification that I was switched over. But the toolbar is still there. I've got my design tree. I've got my chair here. So everything is kind of still in that kind of layout. So in order to start a 2D drawing with xDefine, I'm going to create the dimensions in a 3D environment. So this is kind of nice because you set it up for a 3D MBD kind of scenario, but then you'll use that for a 2D scenario. So I'll start off by clicking on the orthogonal view. So these are the ones that I kind of want to start dimensioning for. So I want a front view, and I'll hit apply. So now you can see on the left-hand side, I get a front view here. I'll want a right view. So I'll hit apply and repeat for that. And then last, I'll probably just want a top view. So I'll just hit that. So now I have these three views. I have right now I'm in the top view, but if I double click, I can go over to the right view, double click, go into the front view. So now this is where I'm currently active in. So to start dimensioning, I'll switch over to the animations or annotations tab and use the dimension tool here. So this is just like what I was talking about at the start. Dimensioning is going to be very similar to how you would dimension in sketches or in SolidWorks drawings. So I'll be picking edges. and dimensioning just like that. So do a few of them. We'll get a radius going. So I want, let's see, what else do I want? Let's do the keyway. So I'll do the vertexes here instead of doing lines. So I've got that. Let's do the radius here, but instead of maybe a radius, maybe if I want a diameter, I can always switch that to a diameter dimension. That looks a little better. So let's see, let's do a dimension from here to here. So I can dimension from different areas if I want. So I'll leave that as is. Let's do this dimension as well. I'll leave that as a radius just to show it. We'll do the circle here, circle there. So this is just a couple dimensions just to show you that we can start dimensioning pretty easily here. Give it one more just to go. And then let's do one radius as well. Oop. Okay. So now we've got quite a few dimensions on this view. I'm just going to hit the check. You can see here it's starting to show what dimensions they are. As I go into a parametric view, I can see where the dimensions are, and I can move them around here as well. But we're going to switch to the right view, and I'm going to dimension this as well. So we'll do the edges here. Let's do another edge this way. That looks good. I'll do a hole here. So if I wanted to add any kind of text here, I can. I can just add that into these. But let's see, I'll add a, let's do it through all. So I can add dimensions, text, all that kind of stuff. I can change the tolerance if I wanted to. For now, just leave that as is, but you do have all the tolerancing options available. You do also have the GDT, you have datum, all that kind of information you can add as well. I'll just finish up with these dimensions here. Okay, so that's good for the right view. I'll go ahead and close that out. As I go back to the parametric, you can see that there are dimensions in different views. It's going to get a little bit busy for the parametric, but that's okay. And I'll do the last two dimensions here. Okay, so I've got some basic dimensions here. I can always come back and add more. I'll go ahead and hit save just so I have this information saved to the xDefine and physical product. So now that I have the 3D dimensions ready to go, I can make a 2D drawing from this. So what I'll do is I'm going to switch to the 2D environment just by hitting this icon here. This will switch me to a 2D kind of space. The sheet name, I'll leave that as is, and I'll switch this to an A2 size. You can also switch it to a portrait, but I'll leave it as landscape for now. So it automatically brings in a sheet that I can use. It brings in a title block where I can fill in information by typing it out if I needed to. You can link these informations to variables if you need to, but for now, I'll just be going over how to create kind of a drawing. So in order to do this, I'll just click on the front view and then drag it in to the kind of the white space here. Just kind of laying it out so it looks all right. And then I'll do the same thing with the top view. Bring it over and bring it to the location where I think would make sense. Lastly, I'll bring over the right view. And then, yeah, that looks, the basic dimensions are all there. So I have this as a 2D drawing now. What I can do is I can export this out as a 2D PDF. So if I hit 2D or output, I can always export this out as an MBD because I dimensioned in a 3D environment, but I'll do a 2D drawing. I'll save this to my local drive, and let's just call it May 10th webinar. set that as a PDF. However, you could do other options if needed. I'll keep that as a landscape, and the sheet size is A2. You can change the color and all that, but all I have to do is hit export, and it'll generate a PDF for me. I'll click on that, and there are your dimensions that you can send to your vendor or customer, and have those readily available. So that is how we can switch or create a parametric model using xDesign and then using xDefine to create it. If I ever needed to switch back to the model, I can hit this X icon to switch that. I'll go back to xDesign, and you can see that I can switch between them pretty easily. But that is kind of the process to make a model and a 2D drawing completely on the browser. I could have done this on my iPhone if I wanted to, an iPad, a Android tablet, anything that has a browser, you can design on it. So it makes it a little easier to do it on the go. Okay. So let me go ahead and switch back over. So in order to get the X apps, you can purchase them individually as roles. So you could get the 3D creator role or the manufacturing definition creator role. However, there is a offer going on right now. It's the Solidworks Cloud offer, where you get pretty much anything you would need for the design process. You would have your 3D creator, so that was the parametric design that we showed. You get the manufacturing creator, so that's your 2D drawings. However, you would also get 3D sculptor. So this is a sub-D modeler. So a organic push-pull kind of geometry. You're starting off with that block of clay, and you're going to push and pull that block of clay until you get the shape that you want. Really great for industrial designers, or if you have a lot of surfacing in your models, this is a lot easier to work with than surfacing. You also get 3D sheet metal creator. So parametric model, but more in the sheet metal design. So if you're working with a lot of flat patterns, a lot of sheet metal parts, this would be a great fit for you. The sheet metal design is very similar to how Solidworks does it, sketches and using the flanges and all that to create it. You also get 3D structure creator. So this is, structure design. So if you're working on making stairs, scaffolding, all that kind of stuff that you would, create using beams and all that, you can be done in a browser. You also get 3D render. So if you wanted to create photorealistic renders of the models that you're creating, you would also be able to do that. The nice thing about that is it's not going to use your computer's power to render. It's going to use the cloud computing. So you don't need a powerful rig to do any kind of photorealistic renders with this package. Then you also get the collaborative business innovator and industry innovator roles. So these are requirements for the rest of the roles, but they give you a lot of power in that you can have lifecycle and data management with these files. So if you're looking to revise files, if you're making branches files, if you want to do approvals with these files, this is something that you can do with these two apps here. You also get a lot of tools in there to do that. So that is the Solidworks Cloud offer. Is available right now. So if you do have any questions or wanted to, get pricing on that, just let us know. We can help you out with that. But the parametric modeler and the 2D that we showed today would be included in that option if that is something you're looking for. So right now, I'll take any kind of questions you have. If there is anything you'd like to know, you can email me directly, or you can place them in the chat right now. All right. If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and end it. I want to thank you all for coming by and seeing how you can design completely in a browser. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.